We have been waiting on this move in MATIC for some time, and we have seen it, well, technically yesterday according to this chart, but today, as far as where I live, this has been the trading pattern over the last 24 hours. And look at this green bar and look what level we have broken. In my previous videos, at least this week for MATIC, we have talked very often about having to get through this 0.92 to 1.0 level. It's a very strong level historically in MATIC. As you can see, historically, we bounce up to it, bounce up to it, bounce up to it. So it has been a historical level, even back into the history of MATIC, going back to 2022 and 2023. You can see where the market has reacted when we got to this level of 0.90 to 1. And that makes perfect sense because as humans, we tend to want to deal with round numbers that are easy to comprehend. And 1 is a huge psychological barrier that we have broken through. And we have gone up through it the last couple of days. We attacked it here, these 2 days here. And I was really wondering if we were going to break it, because when I looked earlier this morning, we had a red bar drifting down back into this level. Bitcoin had drifted down into the 51,000 area. Everything was red on the altcoins, as it kind of still is, except I would imagine MATIC isn't. Where's MATIC? It's one of the few green ones. And this is just showing the day that for me opened 56 minutes ago. So it was a green day for MATIC. And so I was really wondering if at this point we were actually going to start, go down to the bottom of this. But Bitcoin reversed, actually went up and tagged 53,000, and that gave enough relief for MATIC to do what it has really looked like it was trying to do over the past week, and that is get above and close above this 1.0. Not only that, but this is a beautiful looking bar. How we were here, drifted down into the sellers, drifted down, into the sellers, and eventually the buyers just picked it up in a matter of 24 hours, reversed this entire candle, closed it green, closed above that psychological barrier, and we'll see how we act today. But this is what I mean by, is MATIC ready to rock it? Now, absolutely nothing stands in the way of it taking off and challenging its most recent high back in December. Absolutely nothing. If Bitcoin continues to stay around this 52,000 level and doesn't fall, then it's just a perfect ramp for MATIC to springboard off to continue up. Now, let's talk about potential. I want to show you a couple of coins that have broken their resistance lately and have taken off. VET. Let me expand this a little bit, make it a little bit easier to see. VET is a coin that I make videos on. That's why I'm familiar with it. It recently broke a level much like MATIC that it had been fighting with for some time to get through this blue range right here. And once it broke through and closed above, I was expecting a nice clear runway up to this level, which was the high of its previous high back in December. And it said, I will do that and I will continue on. And it continued on. VET gained about 40 to 50% in a matter of 72 hours. It has since given back some, but look, still, I'd rather be here at 0.436 than I would be here at 0.36. So even though it has given back some gains, overall net effect is a nice move. H bar has done the same. It was also wrestling with a level. It crept up to it like MATIC did to 1.0 once it closed above. Again, it took off. Not only did it break its most recent high in January, but it continued on. Much like VET, it's giving some of it back still. Again, net effect is a great move. Will that happen to MATIC? Well, I can't say it will. It seems these altcoins get picked up at random intervals. You really don't know which coin's going to get picked up when. But now MATIC has the potential to be picked up and see a 20, 30, even a 40% gain at some point over a 72-hour period. Listen to that again. I'm not saying it will happen because I didn't know it was going to happen to VET and I didn't know it was going to happen to H bar. My point is, that is what happened to those coins once they got above their critical resistance. They were candidates to be picked up and they were picked up, and it could happen to MATIC again, or happen to MATIC. Long-term, MATIC is looking beautiful. Let's see here. We do still need to break, obviously, this 1.09 to carry on. I do see a little bit of resistance right here. It's kind of the tops of this area and the tops of this area. So that's around 1.19, 1.2. It's an art, not a science. We try to get close, but you never know at what point or what penny the market will find resistance. But again, MATIC is looking fantastic. Let's talk Bitcoin for a minute, because obviously Bitcoin being over 50% of the crypto market cap affects these coins as well. Bitcoin, the reason we saw about 12 hours ago, we were red across all of these altcoins. And again, I realize we're red across them now, but that was because the day for me is only 1 hour old as far as how TradingView starts its day on crypto. But this, when we were red, we were 12, 14 hours in the middle of the full candle for the day, and we were substantially red, 3 and 4% down across the board. The reason for that, I think I mentioned on this video already, is on Bitcoin, we had this fall that did this. We went up to this 53,000 area, and then not automatically, but within about 4 hours fell all the way down to 51,000. I happened to be looking at and making videos this morning around this area right here. And that's why we were seeing a softness across altcoins. My point being, Bitcoin is what fuels the moves for these altcoins generally. Now, some can always be picked up on a random basis, just based on their project, what news comes out, what money flows in. Most of that's for newer coins, not coins that have been around for a few years like MATIC. But Bitcoin fuels the fire for these altcoins. And when Bitcoin stalls, like it kind of has here, then the first thing to give is the altcoins. Okay, the altcoins are the first thing to start giving back. We do have the halving coming up here in April. Find that. This is April. Sometime around April 20th is when it's expected. And historically, before the halving, we've seen a run up in Bitcoin and then a retrace of 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40% before we kind of consolidate. And then after the halving, we go through a consolidation phase. And then a few weeks later to a couple months later, we take off. Now, this is the historical pattern that we've had in Bitcoin. I don't think we'll see a 30 and 40% fall like we have in other halvings, as I've already noted on some other videos. That would put us down in the 30s. I do not see that happening at all for Bitcoin, but a 20% retrace would put us comfortably between 40 and 45,000, which would be still a healthy retrace, nothing that would cause severe damage. But there are some things that we're dealing with in Bitcoin that we've not dealt with before during a halving, and that is this. Bitcoin Magazine put this tweet out and said, last week had the largest weekly inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs, the largest inflows on record at $2.45 billion. Here's the bar for $2.45 billion. You can see it doubled the previous weekly inflows, and there's really no sign of this stopping. As long as all of this money is flowing into these Bitcoin ETFs, we have a supply-demand situation where the demand is outstripping the supply, thus this, right? This has been caused by these ETF approvals that once money got balanced out and got moved around the way everybody needed it, there was some selling off that needed to happen. Now we've seen a run up because all of this money is coming in, making a net gain of hundreds of millions of dollars flowing into Bitcoin ETFs every day. So some are saying that we are not going to see this historical halving retrace just because we have a supply and demand issue that's going to continue to push Bitcoin up. That's going to affect MATIC this way. I'm just giving you a fair warning. If Bitcoin does fall, some of these other coins may tend to drift down. So if you see something like this, or even something like this over the next weeks, don't be frightened. MATIC long-term is in a fantastic position. It is set up beautifully for this bull run. And we will see MATIC eventually break the top and continue on higher, probably several multiples higher than it is right now. So if you're a new trader just getting familiar with crypto, don't like to see your coins go down, like any of us don't like to see that. I'm just want to let you know that if we do start seeing a little bit of drift, then don't be afraid. We have already broken this. It'll be easier to break it next time, even if we drift down, and we may not drift down. If I wake up tomorrow and Bitcoin's at 53 again, and it's drifting upward, MATIC, I'm telling you, could do the same, and again, could be a candidate that at any point, literally any minute, could be picked up and be pushed upward for a 20, 30, 40% gain in a matter of a couple of days. Again, not saying that will happen, just saying you got to be in the game for it to happen. And it has happened to two of the coins that I've been watching and making videos on over the past week. It has happened to those, and so it could happen to MATIC as well. Congratulations, those that are in MATIC from December or January 23rd. You have seen a 33% increase. You've gone from 0.72 roughly to over 1. So that's more than a 35% increase. And you are setting up beautifully. Let's look at the weekly. I bet the weekly chart looks good too. Look at that weekly chart. Let's get some of these doodles out of the way. Look at that. As the weekly chart holds, and we're still in the beginnings of the week, that is a gorgeous candle. If it could close above 1, look, on the weekly, it has not been able to close above 1 yet. It wicked up into it and it fell down. If it can close above 1, that would be a great sign, very similar to ADA. ADA had a big problem closing above its level. It has closed above its level and is set up to rocket if Bitcoin can continue upward. ADA is another one that is technically ready to go up to higher highs. And we'll watch MATIC together and find out if that's what happens. All right, congratulations, MATIC. You're ready to go. Let's see if it happens.